Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you are new. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into today's video. So today we are back in the studio, aka my room, and we are finally going to be tackling the concept that I drew up not too long ago. And if you haven't seen it, this is what it looks like. I actually am a little bit nervous about this, specifically because of two reasons. One, I like to do concepts like this for the purpose of challenging myself and really just pushing myself outside of my boundaries. And two, if you couldn't tell by my voice, I am a little bit under the weather today. And yes, sorry if my voice kind of sounds like crap, but I'm not really feeling too well. And what do I decide to do instead of relaxing and actually taking care of myself? Film for 8 hours. So that's great. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump straight into it. This nail set's probably going to take me quite some time. And for reference, I'm starting at about 3:40 p.m. So I'm hoping to maybe get this nail set done in maybe about, I don't know, 6-7 hours. We'll see. Can't make any promises, but we'll see. So enough of the introductions. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it. So my nails are already nice and prepped, as you can see. I just went ahead and did this off camera because, as I mentioned, this might actually take us quite some time. And I don't want to torture you guys by having you guys sit here for an hour. Like, no, I'm not doing that today. So because my nails are already prepped, we're going to go straight in with our nail tip application. And for today, we're keeping it pretty simple. I'm just going to do some square nails for today. In the post that I posted on my community tab, I did ask you guys to give me some feedback on what you think I should do to make this nail set a little bit better. And one of you guys did mention that I should try and do stiletto nails. I don't really know if I'm going to be able to fit all the designs on stilettos and like make it look good. So yeah, that's why I'm sticking with square. Yeah, we'll see how this looks. So I'm just going to go ahead and size out all of my nail tips for today. And these nail tips are actually pretty long. I don't think I'm going to keep them this long, but we will see. I kind of want this nail set to be long and extra and in your face. So we will see how this all works. Okay. I'm not going to make any promises today because realistically, I'm not even supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be out of commission, but you know, it's fine. It's whatever. And of course, when I size out my nail tips, I do like to make sure that everything fits sidewall to sidewall. And to cure on these nail tips, I'm going to be using some base coat. I like to use base coat simply because nail glue does not really stick that well to my peel off base coat. And I just find that base coat is a good substitute for that. And as always, I'm going to be using my gooseneck lamp to go ahead and help me attach these. So I'm first just going to take one of these nail tips and I'm going to place a little bit of this base coat into the well of the nail tip. And then I'm going to go ahead and just place this down onto my nail. And I'm going to go ahead and cure this. So this one nail is on. I'm gonna go ahead and repeat the process to the other 4 nails and I will come right back. So now that all the nail tips are cured on, I'm going to put them in my big lamp for about 30 to 60 seconds. So now it is time to cut these nail tips down because I'm not keeping them this long. And I think I want to pretty much just cut off the number for the most part. I think this is the length that I want to work with today. It's not that much of a difference, but it's not as long as it was. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to the rest of my nails. I'm just going to be lining them up by my cuticle area just to make sure that they are the same length. So now I'm going to go ahead and shape up the free edge of these nail tips using this ceramic bit here. And I'm going to be using this bit to help me create the moon crescent shape, or I've heard some nail techs call it the moon cut. I don't exactly know what the technical term is for this nail shape. I feel like the moon crescent shape is definitely going to help to solidify the style that I'm going for, which is something a little bit more alternative / maybe eclectic. Eclectic in the sense that I am kind of taking inspiration from different styles and kind of meshing them together. So what I'm going to be doing is taking my carbide bit and I'm going to be pressing it into the end of the free edge. And we're just going to do this until we get the desired sort of curved moon cut shape that we are going for. Now, obviously you can go for something that's a little bit more subdued, or you could go super moon cut if you're really looking for that. But of course, that's all up to personal preference. Okay, so all of the prep work is pretty much done. We are gonna go ahead and move on to the application for today. And for today, we're gonna be doing some acrylics. So let's go ahead and get straight into that. So as you can see, my application is all done, and now we're ready to go ahead and shape and file these nails. So I have my dust collector ready, and the first thing I'm going to do is start out with my hand file. The first thing I like to do is just file the sidewalls and undersides of my nails using my 80/80 grit nail file. And I'm also going to take this time to go over the surface as well, just to smooth out any lumps and bumps. So now I'm switching over to a carbide bit, and I'm going to be using this to seal my cuticles and also get rid of the scratches on the surface. I'm also just going to be reinforcing the moon crescent shape because we already got the general shape down already. I'm really just going to be refining it and making it look a little bit neater because the shape, as you can see, is pretty much still there. I just want to make sure that it's nice and perfect and crispy. Okay, so the base of our nails are done, and now we're going to jump into the nail art for this nail set, and we are going to start by creating our color palette. So for the most part, I'm going to be using the same colors that I used in my concept art. I didn't want to stray too much from the original colors because I was a little bit nervous about how this was going to like actually come together. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and mix all of my colors together, and of course all the products that I am using in this video will be linked in my description box. Now I want to preface this by saying that for this voiceover today, I probably won't be doing too much explaining or rambling simply because I'm still feeling a little bit under the weather. I probably shouldn't be doing this voiceover at all, but I don't want to leave you guys hanging because this nail set's actually pretty intricate and there's a lot of different things going on, and I want to be able to provide a little bit of clarity where I can. So for nail sets that are intricate like this, I try and do each nail one at a time without dividing up all of my energy onto all 4 or 5 of the nails. This definitely does vary depending on how I'm feeling and how intricate I think the nail set is. But today I did not want to divvy up my time, especially because there were a few different things that I wanted to change up according to some of you guys' suggestions. So yeah, we are going to go ahead and start out with our pointer finger, and for this nail I actually took an entirely different approach actually. So this one's going to be slightly different than what I drew up in my concept. Instead of there being a curved black sort of French tip in the center of the nail, it's going to be a lot more angular. So basically 2 large sideways triangles that meet in the center of the nail. I don't know how to describe it, but it kind of looks like an X. And I was actually going for the sort of trendy lace design that I've been seeing a lot on Pinterest, and I'll put a couple of photos on the screen so that you guys can see. But I wanted to go for this sort of aesthetic, but instead of it being more rounded, I wanted to go for something that was a little bit more angular that would fit in a lot more with the sort of alternative slash punky slash whatever aesthetic I was going for. And to get that chrome effect, I did have to mix in a little bit of top coat into my black gel polish. And the reason I do that is because I feel like the top coat helps to create a shinier and cleaner burnish. And I always say this, but it's better to use top coat than to use base coat because base coat will make it look very dull and grainy. If you are trying to get a handle on how to do chrome, I definitely recommend using top coat, or even a rhinestone glue does a really good job at making it super shiny. However, do bear in mind that depending on how much top coat you use, your chrome detailing may be a little bit see-through, so you might have to go in with a second layer, but I promise it is so worth it. And after I've got that chrome effect, I'm gonna fill in the gaps using some regular black gel polish, but instead of filling it in completely towards my cuticle area, I'm gonna be going for the sort of 90s/2000s French tip line, so one that's pretty low towards the cuticle area and something that isn't too deep. And just for full opaqueness, I did go in with 2 layers of that black. So again, I was inspired by the lace trendy effect. I felt the easiest way to do this would be to use a liquid chrome gel paint, and this is one that I actually got from Shein, and it really wasn't that great. I probably will not link it down below because it was just very sheer, and I actually had to do this in about 2 layers, but it did okay, it just wasn't really that good. So after I've done that, I'm gonna go ahead and glue a little cross towards the center of this nail, and to glue that on, I'm gonna be using some rhinestone glue. So now we're gonna jump to our middle finger, and I didn't top coat the pointer one because I wasn't sure if I wanted to add something else or not. I did end up going in with some top coat a little bit later, but for now we're gonna move on. And this nail is gonna have that 3D black swirl. So I'm gonna start out by taking a little bit of that rhinestone glue, and I do like to start off with a little dot in the center just to make sure that I know where my center is. And I'm gonna take a very short line art brush and just work all the way outwards until I reach the edges. When I'm doing swirls like this, I do like to make sure to start out with a lowercase e shape directly in the center, and from there I go ahead and continue the swirl outwards. And for this swirl, just to make it a lot less strenuous on my hands, I made sure to stretch the swirl as I got closer to the edges, so that way it wouldn't look too tight, and also to save a little bit of time. And because this look is supposed to be kind of grungy and alternative, I didn't focus on making it too neat. I do kind of like the sort of messy look that it gave. And after I did the swirl, I'm going to be gluing on some spikes and some silver metal beads around the perimeter, and I'm going to be going back and forth between these spikes and metal beads to create a nice pattern. For this nail, I did end up using the medium-sized spikes just to make sure that this nail wasn't clashing with the pointer and ring finger. But if you do end up trying out this nail set, I would definitely say test out the sizes and see how you like them. I really wanted to go for the larger spikes today, but I definitely felt like it would just clash too much. And to finish off this nail, I'm going to go in with some top coat. So now we're going to move on to the ring finger, and we're going to start out with a dark green French tip. after I did the French tip, I'm gonna go in with a lighter green ombre in the center of the French tip. Now, as you guys know, I typically like to use a fan brush to create an airbrush effect. For today, I did try and use the sponge, which I didn't stick with. It just did not give me the color payoff I was looking for. So I just ended up doing what I normally do, and I went in with my fan brush. If you have an airbrush with airbrush paints, I definitely recommend that. It's a lot quicker, but because I don't have my airbrush paints yet, I just went with this method instead. And I just like to keep doing that until I get the desired color payoff that I'm looking for. So for today, I did this in about 5 to 6 layers. Before moving on, I'm going to go over the French tip with some base coat just to smooth out the surface, because this method definitely does create a lot of texture, and I want to make sure that my lines are nice and smooth. So now we're gonna go in with some white gel polish to create the vector lines. And this was the first time I've ever done nail art like this, so it was a little bit difficult, especially because my line art brush wasn't as long as I would have liked it to be. Funny story, I actually got some new brushes specifically for the new year, and I ended up doing my mom's nails maybe a couple weeks before I filmed this video, and everything was going great. I really liked these line art brushes, but I do like to make sure that I keep my brushes nice and clean in between while I'm working. So I was cleaning one of the longest liner brushes that I got in this pack, and somehow I ended up ripping out all of the bristles like at once. Like it came out in one big chunk. So now I just don't have a long liner brush, so this was the second best option. If you have a long liner brush that you think will work better for this, definitely use that instead. So for these drips on the ring finger, I'm going to be taking some red gel polish and some rhinestone glue, and I'm going to mix that together to create a nice thick consistency. Now before I do those drips, I did decide to glue on the chains and the cross first. I wanted to make sure that I had enough space for the cross because in the reference photo that I drew a pretty small cross. But when my stuff came in, I realized that the cross was a lot bigger than I thought it would be, so I had to make sure that I was working with a good amount of space. So I'm just going to cure on the chain around the perimeter of the top half of my nail using some rhinestone glue. Because the cross is so big, I'm going to be curing that on using some solid nail glue gel. finish off this nail, I'm gonna go in with those red trips. And lastly, we're just going in with a little bit of top coat. And I always like to make sure to go over the chains and any sort of metallic or silver looking charms because eventually they will start to turn. So for the chains in specific, I do go over them with top coat as well. And now we're moving on to the thumbnail. So I'm going to start out with creating half of a French tip using some dark red gel polish. And here I'm just creating a nice plaid design. I did have to use a couple of reference photos because I felt kind of inclined to do a sort of buffalo plaid look, but I didn't really feel like that matched the aesthetic. So I tried my best to look for other plaid designs that would kind of fit a little better. So I can't really describe what I did here. I would say the main difference is that instead of focusing so much on little dashes in between the sheer black, I focused a lot more on thinner black and white lines to help accentuate the nail. I hope that makes sense. I don't really know. I'll try and insert a couple of reference photos if that helps. Because the other half of this nail is going to be chrome, I'm going over the plaid with some matte top coat. The reason I do this is because the matte top coat just helps to prevent that chrome powder from getting stuck everywhere. And the trick with this is to apply the matte top coat, cure that for 60 seconds, and then buff the surface. And this definitely prevents that chrome powder from getting stuck everywhere. So if you haven't tried this, I definitely recommend giving it a go. And I'm just going to go in with that sheer black again, and I'm going to paint half of the nail using this color. And because this was pretty sheer, I did do this in 2 layers. And now that the chrome is done, I'm going to be going in with some charms on the right side of this nail. Now, in the recommendations that you guys gave me, one of you guys did point out that I should kind of do a mix between these spikes and the metal beads on the thumbnail. So that's what I did here, and I also did add some chrome X's towards the center where the plaid and the chrome meet, and I thought that that really made this nail pop. It definitely gave grungy, sort of punk. I hope that that's the correct aesthetic. I'm not alternative myself, but that's definitely what it gave, and I really did like this nail overall. And lastly, I'm finishing off with some top coat. So now we're moving on to the pinky nail, and we're going to start out by doing some lace, and I did have some lace foils that I wanted to use. So I'm going to go in with some nail foil glue, and I'm curing that for about 60 seconds. And now I'm just going to go ahead and apply that lace. It was kind of difficult to get the lace to lay down exactly the way I wanted to towards the base of the nail. Luckily, I was going to go over most of this nail with blue gel polish for that sheen effect. I didn't have to worry about making it super perfect. But if you are doing lace nails, that is something to look out for. You might end up having to go back in with more of that foil and just reapply it in case you have some gaps. After that foil's on, I'm going to go ahead and use this blue gel polish to create the outline of a cross. At this point, I did kind of focus on making this cross as perfect as possible. However, a little bit later, I did just end up applying the sort of phrase of some denim jeans that I have, which kind of made it not really look like much of anything, honestly. So if you are recreating this, you probably don't have to focus on making it super perfect. As long as there's a little bit of lace exposed, it'll look pretty much the same. But before I went in with the phrase, I did go in with a little bit of light blue gel polish just to create a more acid washed jean effect. And here we're going to go in with our phrase, and I'm just going to glue them down using some rhinestone glue. And to finish off this nail, I'm gonna go in with some matte top coat on the perimeter. And then I'm going to apply some top coat towards the lace section in the center. Now, another suggestion that one of you guys mentioned is that I should add some more chains in this nail set. So I thought I should add some chains to this pinky nail, and I really feel like that helped this aesthetic really come together, and I just really like this nail. It's definitely one of my favorites in this nail set. So the nails are all done, and I did end up adding a couple of tongue piercings to the pointer finger. And my reasoning for that was because one of you guys mentioned I should add some hoops to these nails, but I don't have any. So I decided to just add some of these little tongue piercings, and luckily these are pretty easy to remove because I wasn't sure if I actually liked it. But for the purposes of showing that it's possible, I figured I might as well just add it, and I thought it was really fun. And that completes today's set. I really do hope you guys enjoyed this one. This nail set turned out a lot better than I expected, especially considering that I kind of did this nail set when I was supposed to be like resting because I'm sick. But I thought it was really fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing every single nail. It was just such an experience, just doing something that was very much outside of my own personal aesthetic. But I really love these nails so much, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who gave me recommendations on what I should do to make them look a little bit better. I couldn't implement all of the changes, but the ones that I did, I really think they made this nail set come together. I would definitely give this nail set a good 9.5 out of 10. The only thing I would change is probably the color scheme on my ring finger. I think if I added a darker red and something that was more jelly-like to this nail, it would have came together a lot better. So yeah, if you're feeling spiffy, give this one a go. It was definitely an experience. But yeah, that is all that I have for you guys today. As always, I want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and I will see you guys in the next one.